We're coming in hot today talking about the Tanium Ask Agent, Tanium's agentic AI solution available now. Welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks. We are your hosts, Alex Miller.
And Ashley McGlone.
We all used AI in our lives at some point, whether it was to help write an email, a resume, finish some code, or even create a funny picture of cats and dogs living together. But what if you wanted to have an AI chat box experience with all of your endpoints? That is now possible with Tanium.
In an unprecedented move this week, Tanium pulled ahead a big Converge announcement and released a massive Skunkworks feature that will make you do a double take. I mean, you've heard me say this on the show before that when I first saw Tanium years ago, I thought it was science fiction. And I had that same experience this week. And I'm struggling on this episode actually because I'm still searching for words to try to explain how big of a deal this is. Just wow.
Ashley, same story for me. As engineers, we pride ourselves in building all the pieces to make our solutions work. And that's a lot of elbow grease, and I'm getting kind of old. Uh, but what if I could just tell Tanium what I wanted and what it would do for me?
For years, our customers have had to learn every piece of Tanium and then intentionally tell it to do each step. And now in Automate, we can kind of string all that together. But what if, again, you could just simply tell Tanium, this is what I want, and it delivered?
Here with us today to better explain the magnitude of a delivery like this, we've brought Stephen Yang back to the show. Stephen, for the viewers who haven't met you yet, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Ashley. Really excited to be here on the show again today. My name is Steven. I'm Senior Director of Product here at Tanium, working on our automation and AI efforts. And just like y'all, I'm super excited to be sharing this innovation and capability with everybody here. I mean, this really transforms how customers can better manage, better secure their environment in a much more simpler and accessible way. So excited again to share a sneak peek of what we've built here.
That's fantastic. All right, Stephen. So Agentic AI, the Tanium Ask Agent. What's the value here? What's the problem we're trying to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me actually first start with what we do well as a platform in Tanium, right? Which is we have real-time data and actionability. That's a core Tanium competency. Getting the real-time queries, the ad hoc investigations, comprehensive reporting. And as you mentioned, we've built in Tanium Automate, which provides this platform-level automation, rules-based triggers. It makes it a lot easier for you to string together different types of capabilities and actions across the platform. But imagine if you can actually take advantage of all those capabilities and evolve that to a point where you're being goal oriented. You're setting the definition of what the outcome you want to achieve, what is the information you want to gather, and not have to understand the technical nuances of the forms and the fields and which knobs you want to turn and twist, and just talk to the agent. Give me this information, do this type of action. That's really what the Ask Agent enables.
The previews that I've seen internally on this are again just mind blowing, and we could talk through all these things, but I think it's better to do a show and tell. Could you just go ahead and start us off and demo this, and let's talk about it as we go through?
Absolutely. So with the Tanium Ask Agent, how you go and access this is in this top right-hand corner, our Tanium Ask logo. And I did want to quickly clarify the difference between the Ask Agent and our previously announced Tanium Ask in the question bar. Where Tanium Ask in the question bar, you had the ability to enter a natural language question and converted that to Tanium sensor query for you. We really extended that concept with the Tanium Ask Agent. So let's jump in here really quickly. There are a couple of prompts that we suggest out of the box, and this is really to get you started understanding what can the Ask Agent do for you. There are a couple of different agentic workflows that I'll be talking about today. They're all basically use cases that the agent can help deliver. And the first one is what we call data discovery. So really a
You know
lot.
what? I want to pause here and define the term agentic for folks because it's a buzzword we hear a lot in the media. Could you just rewind for a second and say, okay, we've heard of AI. What is agentic AI?
So agentic AI is really being able to take advantage of the intelligence and insights, and I call it the goal-oriented nature of AI, right? So it's not necessarily just being able to gather insights and data and analysis, but actually put it into action in a multi-threaded way, right? to be able to take advantage of all the information that you're actually getting and drive action, drive delivery of kind of changes in your environments.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as like lighting up a use case with AI, right? So it's more than just delivering that data, but then for this use case, AI can take multiple steps to achieve that goal, like you said.
Right. Absolutely. So it's almost automation on steroids, but a lot more dynamic in nature, right? So if you think about how automation is today, you have to define the rules, the triggers, the conditionals. But with agentic workflows, you define the outcome. The AI is able to determine the best and optimal path to get you to the outcome. So built on top of the automation, enhanced by the data that we have, getting you to the outcomes that you need.
So here then we've got a list of some suggested examples of what those agents are capable of, and I'm sure like everything else there's more use cases in the works, but these are the starters. So all right, I interrupted your demo. Let's keep going. Sorry.
Absolutely. This is a great question. So let's jump into the data discovery piece. And again, this is to help leverage actionable insights to accelerate investigation, do troubleshooting, reporting, and just generally understanding what's going on in your environment. So one of the prompts I love to kick off is what devices are performing poorly? And you think about this prompt, it's very vague, right? What does poorly mean? What devices am I looking at? What sensors should I be getting? What type of questions should I be asking? And so this is where the agentic workflow comes into play, right? It's able to go and identify what is a set of tasks and actions I should go and use? What are the tools I should go and apply? What questions I should ask? And how do I actually bring that together into a coherent summary and analysis that the user can understand and action on? So let's actually look at this. What the agent actually was able to do is generate a couple of questions. Well, actually, before that, an action plan, right? So it's understanding I'm going to look at application crashes, high CPU, memory consumption, low disk space. These are some of the attributes it's independently determined to be important for understanding device performance. So as it's running through these queries and reasoning, I can actually understand and see what is the agent thinking through, right? What is it actually doing under the hood? And we want to be very transparent and open to our users about this because we want users to be able to understand how the agent is working and they can make the modifications and changes accordingly as well. So you can see in the application crash data, it generated a question to retrieve the computer names and number of application crashes over the last 24 hours. It's actually querying that question as well. So it actually links to the interact question here. And that really gives you, again, another data point, another drill down to what the agent is actually doing.
Yeah, I'm just thinking again, classic Tanium. You would go into interact, you'd figure out the sensor, use the question builder, and then you'd have to drill down and keep drilling down and adding columns and and it takes a while to really craft that question sometimes. But here, yeah, it's just served it all up, and it's fun to watch it as it's asking these questions. So I'm trying to guess what's happening on the back end here. So it's asking like eight or so different interact questions, and then does it just like mash all that together?
Yeah, absolutely. So what it's doing is it's asking those questions and it's bringing it together into kind of a summary, right? It's figuring out what are the matching points of endpoints, the correlations across those endpoints, and surfacing some of those key parameters. So as you can see here, identify Windows devices showed various crash counts. No relevant crashes were reported on Solaris and Linux platforms. And so what it's trying to do here is giving you that first look, first insight to the data that when queried and understood. But of course, from that summary, in many cases you want to drill down. And so that's why we have the sources here. So we actually go and click on this, it'll bring me to that interact question for me to do that drill down, right? So I can understand, what are the number of application crashes in the last X days across those devices. I can see the additional sources that it brought together into the summary here. Extending this even further, what we've gotten a lot of feedback on is help me drill down, help me understand a little bit better what the data is telling me. What should I be looking at next? So we've actually provided a couple of recommended prompts as well. And this is the AI-driven agentic workflows too, which is it's identifying what are some relevant prompts and next steps that you should be taking and looking at. So things like characterize the poorly performing devices, identify the endpoints with a low disk space, allows me to go and drill down on those pieces. So actually, I'm interested in looking at the reasons for the high memory usage, and hopefully this comes back to me with some little bit detail of the specific processes and endpoints that are affected. We'll get a little bit of time for it to go and think about that. And again, what's really interesting here is I give it pretty minimal context, right? What are the reasons? Investigate the reasons. There could be a whole wide variety of reasons. And this is where the agentic workflows has truly a lot of potential and power because it can figure out and determine, across the environment what sensors are being used. What are some of the things that would be most beneficial to this goal and to this objective that I'm looking for.
So I'm thinking back to the episode that you and I did on the Ask Question bar, and we went into the sensors list, and we had a description of each sensor. Is that kind of where it's kind of mining which sensors should go into the questions and kind of reasoning over that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it actually goes in and indexes effectively the metadata across the sensors. So the sensor names, the descriptions, as well as packages. And that's where it just gathers some of the knowledge and understanding of what those sensors do so that it can selectively and properly choose which ones are applicable here. Of course, we also have a whole knowledge base that we've built into these agentic workflows for common ways that you should approach problems in Tanium. And so as we add more content and strategies through this, this makes that agentic workflow even better and more robust and more precise in the way that it recommends things. So actually, this is pretty neat here. That investigation led to, looking at a couple of endpoints, their memory usage, their event details, provided a summary of findings here, identified some specific processes and applications that are consuming excessive memory. And again, this is to give you that sneak peek and understanding of what's going on. And of course, let me just go and drill down, right? Let me see what are the specific details. But this is very neat, right? Because this gives me the right direction and pinpoints me and directs me to what I should care about and gets me that much closer to root cause analysis.
All right, so as you're demoing this, this is like a reaction video because what people can't see on the other cameras, I'm watching Alex's face and his jaw's falling open like, "Oh my gosh, wow." I got to hear what's going through your head, Alex.
I'm so sorry. Breaking down, like just from asking a question and then digging down a little deeper, being able to see an endpoint with a particular application drawing a ton of memory, like right in front of you without having to like mess around in the console a whole lot is the coolest thing I will see this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really neat is can keep on going, right? I can keep on going and prompting and doing digging in to specific investigation paths. Tying this together to our previous video, Ashley, around the Tanium asking the question bar, what's really powerful about the Ask Agent is it understands the full context of this conversation, right? So as I'm asking those questions, it understands and knows what I previously asked, and it factors that into how it executes the questions, how it asks the questions, and delivers the summary in a way that is tailored to the context of the conversation we're in right now.
That's a good segue to a next question then. So, and all of us in our AI chatbot experiences, we're used to like starting a new conversation to reset the context sometimes. Can we do that here as well?
Absolutely. So I can go in here and I can click a new session, and that resets the context, right? It's effectively saying, let's start from a blank slate and, re kind of litigate with the agent what I want to go and do.
And
Uh,
then can I get back to that conversation for
so I
to
can go back to my
revisit
session.
the context as well?
Yeah, so I can look at my recent sessions here. So this is what we just went through. And then I can see my full list of session history. And, this is really impactful and useful because maybe there was something I was looking at before, and I wanted to revisit that data points, right? Um, what I actually want to showcase here that I think is incredibly neat is let me actually have this go and run, determine if CPU usage correlates with memory issues identified. But I'm going to go and create a new session as well. And I'm going to look at client health failures. Let me go and see what that comes back to me with. But at that same time, this session is also running, right? So it's not a single threaded approach. I can have multiple agent workflows going at the same time. And unfortunately, this one says it didn't work. The perils of AI. But what you'll notice here is When it recognized it didn't work, it automatically went and re-triggered the workflow and tries to find different ways to solve the problem and blocks that it met. So that's something that we built in here because we understand that it's, sometimes things are not going to work, right? Sometimes the initial attempt by the agent uh, might not be exactly what you're looking for and what it's able to do. But I want to go and actually identified and done the investigation here, right? So again, it provides that summary for you. It provides that source data. Let me jump back into summarize health failures. And you see, it went kind of its own independent workflow. I didn't need to monitor and watch it and went and did its thing over there.
All right, so I have some coworkers who need to go to like browser tabs anonymous, or they've got like 40 tabs going. So you're telling me that for people like me with ADHD, I can go in there and like if I don't want to wait on the AI responses and watch it trickle in, I can go spin up a couple of these at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm also watching Alex over here doing the little clapping and the oh, this is great,
Well, that's
man.
I just keep bringing it back to, I worked in a security operations center for years. I worked at a help desk for years, and I'm like, this is a force multiplier, right? If I had this, it would have made my life so much easier at the time.
This is a lot of that's the same feedback we hear from a lot of our customers is they have all this fantastic data in Tanium and they want to be able to understand what's going on and they have all these questions in mind. This provides that portal to just ask any question that they're interested in, whether you're an advanced Tanium user, whether you're a management stakeholder, whether you're a more junior analyst. This just makes the platform so much more accessible to you um, to figure out the information that you need. And I'll talk a little bit about as well how we can drive towards action too with these agentic workflows. But
Yeah, because I noticed there were several different use cases, and right now we're still on the first one of just data. What's next?
absolutely. So let's stick on kind of data and insights. And what I really love, again, is our reports and dashboards because it really takes all this data that we collect and puts it into a way that is very digestible. Now, how do we actually do even better on top of that? And so I'm actually going to create a new session here. Let's clear the context. So this is our Tanium Manage Asset Discovery and Inventory dashboard. And what you'll notice here is this summarize button. We have a little sparkle here indicating this AI enhanced capability. So what you'll notice here on this dashboard is there are a lot of different panels. I'm understanding kind of my IT estate, what the operating systems are. I can look at my software inventory. There's a lot of different pieces of information here. And so what I want to actually do is summarize this information. What details can I get out of it? What insights can I gather from it? And what's really powerful about this is driving again towards recommendations, driving actions, driving insights from data, right? So it's not just information for you to consume, but what can I do about it? So what you'll notice here similarly, it's creating the task and it's executing this dashboard summary strategy and basically this workflow that we've defined. It's actually going to spit out similarly, summary of insights and details here. So
Yeah, quick interjection. What does that icon indicate one more time, Stephen? You said AI enhanced?
yeah, so the sparkle here represents AI enhanced capabilities. It's a little bit of our um, nice way to showcase in the console where there might be, opportunities where we're leveraging, our AI capabilities.
Copy that. Will it yet leverage things like SBOM data if I'm tracking certain licenses and software usage? Can I ask the agent, hey, show me what software in my environment that's not really getting used?
Absolutely. And we can actually walk through that prompt right after this to showcase those types of things. And since we're on that topic, right, all the sensors that are available in the environment, whether they are out of the box Tanium sensors or custom sensors, are all accessible to this Ask agent, right? So in that particular case, software inventory, usage sensors, things like that, the Ask agent will go and try to figure out is that the most optimal sensor for me to go and use. All right. So jumping back to the summary here, it's building up analysis of the data, right? So some of the key insights here. Um, it identified that there's limited virtualization footprint. The majority of them are physical systems with a smaller proportion of virtual systems. Endpoint OS versions are highly fragmented, right? And this showcases that there's a lot of disparate operating systems. And so let me actually click onto it. It's really neat here. It brings me to the exact panel on the dashboard where it drew this insight from, right? So just for fun, let's go to another part. There we go, right? And so this is tremendously powerful, right? We're taking data to reporting to insights, and we're giving you analysis. What are the potential risks here, right? Alex, you talked about underutilized or misaligned software licenses. There we go, right? It brings that to your attention, especially as you think about all these different dashboards. You might have a lot of dashboards, a lot of different panels. You might miss some things. Let me just go and summarize this information for me. Bring it to my attention, right?
And I'm thinking, this is generic demo environment data. But when this is your data in your enterprise, it gets personal really fast.
Yeah.
It's like I told him not to push that app out there.
Yeah. And on that note, what should I do about it? Here's some actionable recommendations, right? Um, and again, this is going to be really robust as you think about all the different flavors of the environment and the textures of all our different customers. I'm personally very excited to talk to our customers and see what these recommendations come out to be and how they're actually delivering them because this is the power of AI, right? It's the non-deterministic nature that is tailored to your environment, dynamically understand what's going on in your estate, and provides the most important prioritization for you. But of course, some folks don't live in Tanium, right? They don't have access to this data. What can we do about it? We can download that data. All right, so now I've downloaded that data for me in a PDF format. I can see all those same insights that the Ask Agent spit out for me across my virtualization footprints, my application usage inefficiencies, potential risks. It's well formatted, it's actionable. I can see when it was generated, so I can understand if this data is current or not. And so a lot of our customers have been asking for, I really need to have a capability like this to report to management, to report to audit folks. Now you have this really easily. It's one click button and it takes all this data for you and pieces it together. Something that you might have, spend 30 minutes an hour to go and compile this report, figuring out, what I should go and emphasize in something like this. What was that, 5 seconds? I was able to spit something out like this.
I think I just heard a viewer standing up in their office and clapping and cheering. Yeah, this is this is crazy, man. Wow.
Right. And one of the things here again is not only can I drill down from the data discovery piece, I can drill down from the summarized data as well. Right. Um, Analyze the client health failures for actionable remediation priorities. Um, what we want to do with this Ask Agent is always drive you towards the next best action that we think is applicable in this scenario. Let me actually jump back to one of the previous sessions, and I want to call out our positive and negative feedback options here. So, as always, with AI, is going to sometimes spit out results that might not be accurate, might not align with what you were expecting. And that's expected, and we're going to work on that. But that feedback mechanism gives us that signal towards is this something that the agent has provided a positive response to or negative response to. So if I can click positive, that gives a signal, fantastic. This is great data. But if it's negative, we also love for customers to tell us whether it's inaccurate, whether it's not helpful, or some other type of scenario where that response was not valid, right? So this is kind of our philosophy of continuous improvement, right? With AI products and AI features, the technology is changing so rapidly. It's improving so rapidly. And so what we're trying to do is put this into the hands of our community, of our customers, of our partners, and work together to make this better. Because, as you can see, the potential and power here is really unbounded. And we think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity if we can work together as a community to make this, really well kind of built product that everybody can use.
I mean, I think anybody these days understands there's going to be some fuzzy edges on the data. And so, yeah, we do want to make sure that we validate. And that's where, just like in your other chat AI experiences, you got those little source quotes, right, for the footnotes. And so here you've got that turned out in interact queries. You can actually go put your eyes on it yourself and make sure, is it really that way? Oh, wow. Yeah, it actually is. I didn't expect to see that. Yeah.
You talked about data and insights and reporting. Now, what I'd love to do is pivot to actions, right? And so before I actually jump into this, what I want to call out is with the way we're thinking about AI agents and how it can take action on endpoints today, uh, we're not yet at the stage where we want the agents to autonomously take actions. We want to give the user the driver's seat. They're always going to be in control, having governance over what the agent has done, what it suggests to do. And the agent is never going to click deploy and run the action. Ultimately, the user will need to click deploy and approve of such an action. And that's an intentional decision, right? We want to make sure that the users are comfortable, start trusting the system, and we find the right opportunities where eventually there might be, low risk actions, approval system where you might be saying for these set of actions and these set of risk profile and guardrails, I'm fine with the agent going and do that. And so kind of incremental steps that we're working on here. All right. So we talked about insights and data and how I can understand all of the fantastic dashboards and reports that we have. But let's show you how the Ask Agent actually can drive towards action. So let's say I want to install Zoom on my endpoints. What's really neat here is it understands that I want to do a software deployment, understands that that is within the context of our deploy capability. And soon you'll see how it outlines a strategy and approach to installing Zoom in my environment. So as you can see here, it generated the steps it would take, right? So it's going to generate the deployment name, the description, the content set, configure all those deployment settings. Let me just not talk through this. Let me click proceed. It brings you directly to the deploy page. And for users that don't know what deploy means in Tanium, imagine that I don't need to figure what that means. It sets it up for me. It generates the form, all of the name of this deployments. It understands what I'm trying to do with this description. And as you can see here, the agent is thinking through each step and approach. It just filled out that form for me. It selected Zoom. It selected installer update for the operation without me having to do anything here. And as you can see, it's going to continue filling out this form, right? It selected all computers, and that makes sense because I said on my endpoints. And so as you can see, it understood all the necessary values it needed to populate the form for installing Zoom on your endpoints. So it's going to give you a breakdown of all the settings that it applied, the software package it applied, the targeting criteria. And what again, we want to emphasize here is human in the loop, right? So it's going to say, do these values look good to you? If yes, fantastic, save the form and go and click deploy. So ultimately, me as a user, all I need to go is click preview to continue.
All
And
right, I nobody's going to click that yet. All right, I just got to call you out on that one. So, like, okay, AI just created a software deployment to every machine in the place. So, is this going to like hit the rings? Like, if we've got deployment rings defined in the background, is it going to take that into consideration?
yeah, absolutely. So in this particular case, it actually didn't select the ring deployment. So let's actually prompt it to do that. Let's see what it will do. And as you can see here, the agent was able to select and understand that I want to do a ring deployment. So as part of the configuration, it automatically toggled enable ring deployment and it chose a standard phase deployment for me, right? And so that's really powerful here is the agent is not only setting up the form for you, it's making sure that you're doing progressive controlled deployments, taking advantage of the autonomous endpoint management deployment plans that you've already created in your platform, right? And so this is something that we are encouraging the agent to do for any type of action that it suggests and eventually may take, that you're taking advantage of ring deployments because you want to have the control not just from a human element, but also how you want to roll things out in your environments.
Yeah, so I'm thinking with prompt engineering, that's a popular term these days. You could, you were giving some pretty broad prompts, but you could get more specific, like, hey, I want to install Zoom and I want to use the ring deployments that we've already got defined on, maybe even coach it on the computer group. I'm guessing you could probably work on a prompt format that works for you to kind of gets most of it there. But all right, now here's my next question. All right. So AI gets us 80% there sometimes.
Mhm.
And then I'm a new Tanium user and I don't know how to do a ring deployment, right? Can it help me like finish it, just like coach me on doing the manual steps?
Absolutely. And that's where our in-console documentation use case comes into play. So some folks might not know what is a ring deployment. Perfect. Let me go ahead and ask the Ask Agent that. Explain to me what a ring deployment is. Or more specifically, I actually want to understand what a deployment plan is. And so what's really neat about this integration is it's hooked into our user guide documentation. And so as our user guide documentation gets updated, it's refreshed every day. And so we can understand and pull in the latest information from our user guides to enable our users to understand how to best use Tanium, right? In this particular scenario, what is deployment plans? It's going to search that documentation for me, pull back that information, and now it's explaining it, right? What a deployment plan is, it represents a set of endpoints for each ring. It specifies how you move from one ring to the next. And so this is effectively pulling a subset of that information from our documentation. But of course, if I want to learn more, I just go and click these documentation links, right? Automatically deploying software takes me directly to those pages that are relevant here.
This is so much fun. I'm watching Alex this whole show, and he's like shaking his head and covering his mouth, and he's just like, "Oh my gosh!"
As someone who over the last several years has spent hours in our documentation page, this, you're, this would have been really helpful a while back, Stephen.
Absolutely. And so this is what we're really trying to do here is make it easier to use Tanium, right? We're pushing out so many features and capabilities all the time. In many cases, you might be seeing, oh, this new feature, this new button, what does it do for me? And this just brings it directly into the context of your workflows so that you don't have to go and flip between user guides and reference what you're doing in Tanium. It's just as part of your step-by-step day-to-day workflow and process, you can go figure all these things out.
And so Alex and I are in the training department here at Tanium. And so this is like built-in training right in the console. How do I do this thing I want to do with Tanium? And then there you go. It pulls the docs for you. Wonderful. But we're running out of time, unfortunately. I do have one other question. I know we talked about this a little bit on the previous Ask episode, but could you talk about the AI security and governance issues for a minute? Because we've got this AI feature toggle switch that we've talk to our customers about, but some folks may not be aware that that exists. And so if I turn that on and this feature gets lit up for me, and I'm interacting with my endpoint data, is that going to show up in someone else's AI response outside of my subscription? That everybody's going to probably wonder that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ashley. And we get that a lot from our customers. Where does our data reside? Who manages it? Is this getting shipped off to anywhere? And so all this data is in your environment, right? It's not ported out to it. And so no other environments or centralized service will be able to gather that today, right? And so, where you're not effectively, your data is controlled and managed within your own environments.
All right,
Now,
and so now we're looking at this toggle switch. Walk
yeah,
us
so
through
you
that real
mentioned the
quick.
settings, and what I wanted to call out is, what are those settings today, right? So we have this top level Tanium AI feature setting. So this controls across your entire environment if any AI enhanced functionality exists. I can go flip that on or off at any point in time. Now, beyond that, we actually have subsettings for Tanium Ask in the question bar, so for interact questions, and then Tanium Ask Agent, right? So sometimes you may say, I actually don't want my users to have access to the Ask Agent yet. I want to make sure that I've done my diligence on that. That's okay. And you can go flip that off for now. But of course, we want you to flip it on. But again, we want to give you that granularity of what types of AI enhanced capabilities you have available in your environments. So this is something that is again applies to the entire Tanium console. But in the future here, we are looking at being able to assign this per user as well, because we understand that you may want to have a little bit more flexibility to say these specific users can have access to AI enhanced features. They may need to do some type of training or kind of learning material there as well. So that's coming as well from our settings perspective.
So the bottom line here is I'm in control of whether or not the AI features are enabled. And then once AI is not just going to take over my enterprise and start deploying actions, I've got when I ask it for that deployment plan, for example, and it's up to me to actually human in the loop, hit the button and tell it to do that. And then even when it does, it's just going to create it. It's not going to automatically. So there's a nice comfort level of safety here,
Yeah.
and that's good to see.
Yeah, Stephen, that's absolutely fantastic. So, it's my understanding, by the time this episode airs, this is going to be available to our customers. Correct me if I'm wrong. And what licensing is required for them to be able to use this product?
Absolutely. So Tanium Ask Agent is going to be part of the Tanium core platform, and it's going to be eligible initially to our Tanium Cloud US commercial and UK cloud customers. We are looking at expanding it to other regions, but those set of customers will get this capability first.
Thank you so much, Stephen. So, all right, we got Converge coming up in a month. So I got to ask the question, what can our Converge attendees look forward to regarding the solution? Will the Tanium Ask Agent be making an appearance in labs or on maybe on the main stage? Can you give us any teasers?
Absolutely. So, this is our big evolution of the autonomous endpoint management platform. So, labs, breakout sessions, main stage. You'll see and hear a lot more around the Ask Agent, and probably see a lot more changes and improvements over this next period of time. As we are building out these AI products and features, we're iterating quickly. We're listening to your feedback. We're talking to our customers and partners. So we're building and prototyping quickly here.
That is amazing. I am so excited. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today, talking to us about the Tanium Ask Agent. For our viewers at home, as always, we have many resources linked below for your reference, documentation, and there's even a free Converge Pass promo code. We hope to see you in person next month. I'm going to be there. Ashley's going to be there. Jesh is going to be there. Come find us early for maybe a surprise.
Yes, folks. Again, I'm speechless, and I'm watching Alex through this episode. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is great." We are struggling for words here. This is so much fun, and Converge is going to be so much fun. We see what else is coming next. So thank you again, Alex, Stephen. Great show, and as always. Keep your eyes on this YouTube channel here, like and subscribe, all that business, because there's going to be a lot more announcements coming out. And again, it's just mind blowing. It's amazing to see autonomous endpoint management. We had confidence scores and ring deployments, and now this is like, wow, oh my goodness. So, like Alex said, we're going to see you in person at Converge in Orlando, November 2025. And so until then,
Go Tanium.